All right, we are at question 5. Before I proceed, if you are tired, I suggest you pause at this point in time, take a short break before you continue. Are we ready? All right, this question, if you take a look at the table, it seems a little bit more complicated than the other few. Now, take a look at the table. You will see that there's one section that's referring to the number of bags of rice per delivery for supermarket A, B, C, and D. So you must be able to identify this first group of info. Now, the other group of data you need to take a look. It is on the right column. It stated the number of deliveries in 1 month. So that is the second info that you will need to take note. Lastly, you take a look at the last row. It says price per bag. So which means for the 2.5 kilogram, it is at $4 per bag and $7 per bag for 5 kg and $12 per bag for 10 kilogram. So there are 3 different information combined together in this table. So this question, you do have to read carefully and to see what information to take. Now let's begin to look at part A. Now A, they ask you for 6p. Now what does the number 6 in front represent? Now if you take a look closely, you notice that if you look at the first row, supermarket A, I think if you look at the right column, you will see the number 6. So the 6 is actually referred to the number of deliveries in 1 month. So which means there are 6 deliveries in 1 month for supermarket A. The other info that you see given in matrix P is 40, 25, and 10. So which means this represents the number of bags of rice per delivery for supermarket A for each size of the bag. That means for 2.5, 5, and 10 kg. Putting all these together, how would you describe? Now, you notice all this information, it is all referring to supermarket A. So you have number of deliveries in 1 month, and then multiply together with the number of bags of each size. And as I mentioned, all this referring to supermarket A. So therefore, when you describe, you should mention supermarket A. Part B, another question that involves description. So before we do the description, you may want to take a look at QR. So find the product and to see what you have. The product here shouldn't be that tough. What I would like to focus is how should you describe. So do find the product on your own. Now let's take a look at QR. When I say QR, I would like you to take a look at the order. Now Q times R, if you see the order of Q is actually a 4 by 3 matrix. Whereas for R, it is a 3 by 1 matrix. So therefore, when you combine these two together, what is the order of the resultant matrix? Yes, it is a 4 by 1 matrix. Now, when you take a look at 4 by 1 matrix, it simply means there are 4 rows and 1 column. And the 4 rows are referring to supermarket A, B, C, and D. And the 1 column is actually referring to matrix R, that is here, 4, 7, and 12. So when you put this together, remember R is referring to the price per bag. and the question already given to you in a column matrix. So when you put all this information together, you must be able to derive a few things. So when you have number of bags and the price put together, so what you have is the cost. And for each row, referring to each supermarket, so in your description, you should also mention about the word each supermarket. And we are also referring to each size. The size will be the 2.5, the 5, and the 10 kg because of the 4, 7, and 12. And lastly, you notice in the table, the heading of the table already tell you is number of bags of rice per delivery. So therefore, in your description, you do need to ensure that these are the keywords that you do need to mention in your answer. And the words that are highlighted in red, make sure you also mention this in your presentation. All right, 5C part 1. Now this question, I will classify it as hot. It means higher order thinking questions. Now, taking a look at this question, you notice that this is different from the rest because this question, they did not give us what are the two matrices. So what exactly are the two matrices that we are referring to? And the question also tells us product. So that means I will need to multiply two matrices together. So when I multiply two matrices, it is important for us to check the order of the two matrices. Now at this point, some of you may already confused. How do I know what are the two matrices? So before we proceed, let us take a look at what the question asks to find. And I would suggest at this point, if you are already confused and along the way, if you think you need to pause the video and to listen over and over again until you understand, please do so. Some of you may need to pause the video a couple of times. Make sure that you really understand what is going on. Okay, so the question asks for the total number of each size of bag. Now let us dissect the question a little bit further. Now the question talks about each size. So exactly how many different sizes are there? You may need to refer back to the question. So you look at the table. The table gives us 2.5 kilogram, 5 kilogram, and 10 kilogram. So from here, it's actually a clue to tell us that, hey, there are three different sizes. So with this, let's go back to the question. It says total number of bags. So how can we find the total number of bags? So to find the total number, what we have in the question is the number of deliveries. For example, if you look at supermarket A, there are 6 deliveries done in a month. And in one delivery, there are 40 bags, 25 bags, and 10 bags for each size respectively. So therefore, to find the total number, I will need to find the product of the number of deliveries and the number of bags per delivery. And if you look at the table again, let's take a look at all the 4 supermarkets. The number of deliveries in 1 month is given in column. So at this point, I will need you to check the order. So is it necessary for me to give my matrix in terms of column that is given in this question? The answer is no. So by checking the order, you will realize that I will need to rewrite the number of deliveries as a row matrix. And this is simply because of matrix Q, because Q gave us the number of bags per delivery. So it is really important for you to know the order of Q before you decide what should be the order for the number of deliveries. This part here is challenging. So for those of you, if you are having difficulty at this point, I suggest that you pause the video, go back to the question, look at the order of Q and ask yourself what should be the order for the number of deliveries. All right, let's proceed. As I mentioned, if you check the order of the resultant matrix of these two multiplied together, you should get a 1 by 3 matrix. So those of you who will find it challenging, this would be the clue for you. Use this and to check it out what should be the order. Now let's proceed to C part 2. Now again for C part 2, they ask for product. But this question slightly better because you already know what matrix you're going to use. That is from C part 1. At the same time, you notice that if your answer for C part 1 is not there, you will have difficulty finding C part 2. Now take a look at the question. It says, evaluate the total amount of money the distributor will receive. Now let's take a look at the formula. How can I find the total amount of money? Let's put on our thinking cap. Total amount. That means I will need the total number of bags in one delivery. And I will also need to know how much per bag. So which means I will need to know what is the price of each of the bag, of each size. So putting these two together, my answer for C part 1 is a 1 by 3 matrix, which is given in the slides here. And to find the price of each size, I just got to refer back to the table again. In part B, the question already gave me R is 4, 7, and 12 because matrix R gives us the price per bag. So putting these two together, and when I multiply them, you will get a 1 by 1 matrix. And yes, in this case, R is the other matrix that we are supposed to look out for. So take note of the presentation in this particular question. So it's a 1 by 1 matrix. So it is still a matrix. So therefore, remember to put the bracket. Now, but this is not the final answer yet because the question asks for the total amount of money. So I cannot just leave the answer in matrix. So I do need to give the answer as a final statement. So therefore, I need to state, therefore, the amount of money received, all right, and I add the unit. So you do need to conclude this question with the final statement. Similarly, in question 3C, you will also need to write down the final statement. So you may want to revisit question 3, part C. So with this, we have concluded the entire question 5. Not easy, So do encourage yourself to pause the video and listen over and over again until you have a better idea.